Welcome back to our Year in Review special here on Golf Talk Canada. Mark Zecchino, Bob Weeks. There's a couple of ways we could have went with disappointment of the year. For Bob and I, and most Canadian golf fans, another season goes by with a crop of great players from Canada on the PGA Tour, but no victory. But for us, the slam dunk disappointment of the year, another entire PGA Tour season goes by without an appearance from Tiger Woods.
Tiger just really all out of sorts.
We're seeing one of the greatest athletes absolutely lost out on the golf course.
The health is different than what it used to be. And he goes right to his back again.
He could feel it. This is physical.
Right. He had back surgery. It's the second time Woods has had a procedure to ease back and hip pain.
Tiger Woods has announced his return to golf.
Does this mean that he is healthy, he is ready to go?
What kind of game is he going to have? What kind of game is he going to show up with when he does return?
I'm far from being done.
Just 3 days after confirming that he would play, Tiger has suddenly pulled out of the event.
Clearly, something went wrong.
Bob, like sands through the hourglass, some of these numbers are staggering since Tiger's last competitive round. PGA Tour win and major victory is astonishing.
The rust on this guy has got to be just building up time and time again. But it's kind of interesting, if you look back a year ago, we were saying we don't want him to rush back. That was the mistake he made a year ago, right? He rushed back. Now we're sort of almost gone the other way, saying, boy, it's almost too long now.
Well, that's true. And you were on your way to the Safeway Open when he was supposed to make his comeback, and you got the news when you got off the plane that he withdrew. So we don't know a lot about Tiger, but what we do know is a little bit more since his Charlie Rose interview on PBS. We know now Tiger might be a little delusional.
Do you believe you'll get 18 majors?
To be honest with you, no.
You don't?
No.
You've accepted that?
I've accepted I'm going to get more.
You're 40.
Yes.
Jack won the Masters when he was 46.
46, correct.
Tom almost won the British Open when he was 59.
I know. He had it on his club, yeah.
Yeah. But you got to get started soon.
Whether soon or not, I need to get started and be ready to go.
I don't even know where to start in this, Bob, because nothing would make me happier than a healthy Tiger Woods making a comeback. But listening to that interview, I start to scratch my head. This is somebody that on a Friday put his name into the hat and said, I'm playing the Safeway Open on the PGA Tour. And by Monday, he was withdrawing because his game felt vulnerable. Why isn't he starting with 4 healthy rounds of golf before he starts declaring the fact that he's going to start winning 19 or more majors and surpass Jack Nicklaus? I find it absolutely ridiculous. Crazy comment. In that same interview, they asked him what his only regret was in his career on the PGA Tour. And this is a guy that rebuilt his swing 3 times, has had multiple injuries, trained like a UFC fighter, which could have prevented a lot of those injuries, who had lots of personal problems, 9 irons to the face and too many breakfasts at Denny's. Yet his only regret in life is not spending 1 more year at Stanford University. Bob, this year's a disappointment. I don't believe a word that comes out of Tiger's mouth.
I think you have to look at it from the fact that if you're Tiger Woods and you're sitting there and you are one of the most competitive guys going, are you going to come out and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to play anymore. I don't think that's in him to say, even if deep down that's what he believes. I think he wants to be back out there with the guys in the locker room on the first tee. I think he wants to be the guy who won all those tournaments in 2000, and he believes he still can. So there's no point in us judging him in terms of what he's saying, because in his mind, that's what he thinks he can do.
I don't believe he thinks he can do it.
You know?
I believe it is PR. I believe he just announced, is it TGR, his new company that will umbrella all his endeavors off the golf course. So in my mind, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He makes this big press release, this big media tour about TGR, getting ready for the second half of my non-competitive life. And then in the next side of his mouth, he's talking about, winning over 19 majors. I just find it like, Tiger, get some consistency here. We don't even need, this is also a guy that's given us nothing really personal over his entire career, and now is just giving us all these nuggets of, I'm going to win 19 majors. I'll ask you this, Bob. Do you think he'll play the Hero World Challenge in December? Because he's told us now, yes, he will play. He hosts that tournament.
Right.
It's in the Albany Club in Bahamas. His foundation is attached to it. Will he show up at the Bahamas?
I think he will. I think he'll show up there only because there's not as much pressure as there would be at a regular PGA Tour event. I think it's also a little more difficult for as many media to get to the Bahamas to cover that event as there would have been in Napa. So I think it's a bit of a soft start for him. But right now, the only thing for me that would keep him from playing that would be if he is injured right now. If the reason he didn't play in Napa is because he's hurt himself or he's sore,
right, which we don't know because we're guessing.
That would be the only thing.
Okay,
stop.
For me, 4 rounds of golf, healthy, not off the hosel, is a huge win for Tiger right now.
Sure.
Is that considered a win for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. If he gets out on the golf course, he plays 4 rounds, he makes a cut, or if it goes into a non-cut event, I think so. I think he can come back. I think he can be a very good player because he knows how to do it. It's just a question of when is he going to start. As he said in that interview, he's got to start sometime, and it's got to be soon.
Other than the psychological damage done with the 6 inches between the ears, and if you read a lot of articles and you hear some of his comments, a lot of people are pointing to this being a mind issue right now, not a physical issue. Other than that, as the obvious, for me, the big concern is this is a guy now that's rebuilt his golf swing 3 times. He has no map back to what his actual golf swing was. He has no map back of any familiarity to the golf swing and the game that won the U.S. Open by 15 shots in 2000 that he decided to blow up because his ego got in the way with Butch Harmon getting a lot of the press at the time. And I'm going to come across in this segment as a Tiger basher. I'm not. The reason I'm so passionate and upset about it is that I want him to do well, and I wanted him to be the guy, and I think we were robbed of maybe the greatest career ever.
Well, I think the one thing you can look at now, the one thing this injury has done and allowed him to do is to kind of start from scratch. And now I know he's starting from scratch again, but when we last saw him, let's not forget, he was struggling with that short game. He seemed to have corrected. He didn't really have that swing that he was working on dialed in. So over this long period, over this convalescence, maybe he's found a way to swing the way he wants to. Maybe it's his old swing, maybe it's a new swing, but maybe it's a swing that'll work for him, that'll keep him from being injured again. And so maybe that's part of the reason why he's not quite ready, because he's not quite sure of what he's got in the bag yet.
Well, hopefully we find out a little bit more of where he's at come December at the Hero World Challenge. Somebody on the opposite side of their career is our surprise of the year, who blew it off the doors in 2016.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Golf Town. Anything for golf.